Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hi.
We have both played through Astro Bot and absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that really sets this game apart, and we talked about it in our review, is VR and the way you interact with things in this using VR in a whole bunch of different ways. So,
Yeah.
what we want to do is talk about our. We have five. It will probably tangent into way more than five, but
Yeah.
five of our favorite things that VR kind of is used for and the way this game stands out using those concepts
hmm
in Astro Bot Rescue Mission. So I just want to start with, if you haven't played Astro Bot, these are five of those things where just when you're playing this game, it almost like makes you pause because of the way the VR interacts with you. So they're great surprises. I don't know how they'd be if you knew these types of things were in there.
hmm
So if you haven't played Astro Bot, maybe stop listening. If you're never going to play Astro Bot, it's cool. But anyway, the first one I want to talk about is there's a level, I believe it's in the third world.
Yes. No, second maybe doesn't matter.
Anyway, it's in the third world where you are inside of a whale.
Yes.
And what makes this so cool is as you and Astrobot are going through this, there's these waves coming at you.
Yeah.
And most of these you'll see kind of have to deal with water at most of our favorite moments. So, Doug, give me an idea. Like these waves coming at you, what is that like? Why is this such a cool thing in VR?
I think it's funny because it doesn't feel, I think like just describing it sounds very silly. It's one of those things like you got to see it in VR. But how the level works is that essentially halfway through the level, you have these large waves of water that come towards you, and then they wash over your head, and then you keep going. It's like these giant waves keep coming, and it feels like I think it was the first time I'd actually ever done like an underwater experience, I guess, in VR. I mean, they have those, but not one where you're above and below water.
Yeah.
But I just remember the first wave hit, like I took a breath, like because like if you've ever been in the ocean, when you have a
Yeah.
giant wave coming to you, your first inclination is take a breath. And I just remember playing through that level the first time. Like I legit felt like I was underwater, and I felt like I was having like doing my breath holding thing like I was in water. And I was like, wait, no, 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 I don't have to do that. But I could feel my body reacting as soon as the wave came, like to take my breath. And I'm
Hmm.
sure that could just be me. I don't know if you had that
I
experience.
see. Mine was almost different for this one because I had that. The next part we'll talk about. I had that
Yeah.
feeling, but with this feeling, I almost had the like when you're a kid and you like want to go up and down the waves. I almost like intrinsically felt my body like start to kind of do that like whoa, like swaying back and forth, like the waves hit you. Like I almost had that feeling like oh yeah, this is gonna happen. Like and I was like oh wait, no, that's a fake wave. That's not here. We're okay.
Yeah.
But just the feeling it gives you just seeing those coming at you, and as you go through the level they change heights and some go over your head, some don't go over your head. There's just lots of different things that are happening with these waves, and just as they come at you, the way you're trying to like kind of focus on the game, these things are hitting you. Your visor, your eyes get kind of covered in water a few times, and it gives you this really cool perspective of like okay, I'm in this world. And it just, I think that was one of those moments in this game where I just felt like this is really what's immersing me in this, not being this character, not these
Yeah.
things happening to me as a player, but just the world itself actually interacting with me. And I don't feel like I have that too much in any other VR games.
No, it felt like I was playing a video game like in a pool, and I was like there's like it was like such a weird feeling. Yeah, it's like it's definitely I totally get what you mean though. It's like it felt very but I guess like every VR game feels immersive, but it's just like it was just something like weird, like this experience of like being in a pool but also not in a pool and trying to convince my body that it's okay. You're not actually you're not gonna drown. You can breathe
Yeah.
normal. You can do this, yeah. While you're playing like a fun little platformer.
Yeah, it's one of the first times I really had that feeling like this is affecting the rest of me, not just what I'm looking at. It gave you kind of that feeling of like your whole body is thinking you're in this place, which I don't feel like I've had very many other times.
Mhm.
The next one I want to talk about is, I think it's a couple worlds later, but it's another one that deals with water. You get into this, I don't even remember where it was, but it's like a square area, and the water level changes a little bit as you're sitting
You
in there.
fill up the pool with water.
Yeah, that's right. You've got like a gun that fills that up. So you're sitting there, and as you're filling this up, the water keeps going up and up and up to the point where it's at about like the level of your neck,
Yes.
and which is a weird feeling because it almost feels like you're like treading water, just kind of standing there, like again, just because this the way the water works and this gives you such a weird feeling. And this was probably my favorite moment in the game for me personally. And then
Yeah.
your astrobot is above the water and then goes into the water. So as you're doing this level, you have to like keep ducking your head underwater, coming out of water to kind of see which one. And then, of course, you've got a little bit of visual change with each one. But you always have this feeling of like deep breath. Okay, time to go underwater. And then every now and then I even got this feeling like, because you stay underwater for a second, it's like, oh no, like I need to breathe, like I'm underwater. How am I not running out of breath yet? Because you're underwater, and it's such a cool feeling just as you come up from water. And again, you kind of get like a splash effect and all this stuff, and it is really cool, the feeling that gives you as you kind of duck in and out of the water going through this little tiny segment. I think that the part only takes maybe 2 minutes to do, but that is where, if I were to try and explain why this game is great, that's exactly where I need to point somebody.
Yeah, yeah, it feels exactly like sitting in a bathtub or sitting in a pool with your head above the water, and occasionally you'll look down to see people swim or something like that. Is like it felt. I remember when I did that section. First of all, I thought something was broken because I thought the water's like supposed to go over my head, and
Yeah.
I was like,
Yep.
oh, I must have screwed something up. And I was like, oh wait, no, I can actually go underwater. And I remember as I was doing that, I had this feeling of like my chest being cold, um, because it just felt like I was sitting there like just sitting submerged in water up to my neck. And I definitely did get that feeling too of like of needing to breathe in and breathe out. The one thing I did like about it kind of felt like kind of like a tide pool or something like that, where it's like a tide pool that you never get to experience. Because I feel like when you go out to like a swimming pool or something, you look underwater, like you're just seeing lanes and stuff. You're never seeing anything
Oh
real
yeah.
exciting. But it's cool like going underwater and seeing something kind of interesting happening.
Hmm.
And I really love that aspect of it. I was like, dang, this is actually that concept itself. I felt like this could be an entire game in and of itself that I would just love, like just treading water and just like kind of peeking underwater and stuff like that. It's funny because it's like it's a small part of a larger level. Like it's such an innocuous like small part section of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's like a 2 minutes of a 10 minute level in like one of the final worlds, and it felt so real
Yeah.
um, compared to everything else that it was just like it was uncomfortable. It was interesting. It felt like a lot of things, and it's just like God dang. It's just interesting. I feel like Astrobot just far and away it kind of understands the power, the impact that VR can have, and it lets you savor those moments.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, the water came up to my neck and that was it. It's like, no, 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 we're actually going to spend some time in this little environment thing
Hmm.
instead of just like, I feel like in a horror movie, like they just scare you, go, boo, it's like, ah, you scared me. But this one, it's like, no, let's actually like savor that feeling that you
Yeah.
had. And that feeling is you sitting in a tide pool.
Yeah. And it works so perfectly. So moving on from there, one of the other things that stands out in particular in this game are the bosses, and just the way
Yes.
that the bosses use the elements of the level that you're going through. And again, just a lot of these bosses are giant, and just the perspective of Astrobot being this little tiny robot and you just kind of following around, the size of these things are just really crazy, and it
Can we
goes from
talk about that for a second? Just like the boss, just the general
yeah,
size of the bosses was like so freaky to me at first. Like when the first boss game was
the
like,
big monkey, and it's just like whoa.
yeah, it's a big monkey that's looking at you very mad. It's just like, oh, that's like a little unnerving.
Yeah, because again, like everything up until those points and everything in these levels is all Astrobot and Astrobot size, which is just these little tiny, like, I mean, glancing at it, you'd assume like, oh, that thing's like 2 feet tall, and
Yeah,
then you get this monkey, and legitimately the teeth that you're knocking out are the size of Astrobot, and it's just
yeah.
the scale works so well. And even from a VR perspective, like I feel like you had to look up and down and around you just to fit these things in front of you because they were so giant.
Yeah, it made me rethink like every large boss I've ever seen in a game. Like I've never felt a game have bosses that were so large, except for like these dumb monkeys and octopuses and birds. I was like, these are cute. But then it made me think back to like how cool would all of those bosses I've ever fought ever any game ever be in VR with just that like enormity of them. Even though it's like a silly dumb looking thing that's humongous and looking at you like it's very mad at you is like I don't know. I really
It's
liked it. Felt
menacing.
yeah, it felt like a boss battle. Like ugh.
But the one I want to focus on here is the shark.
Yes.
The shark is, I believe, the fourth boss,
It's the second to last
second to
one.
last one.
It's
I know
so it's
that.
the
I think
fifth
it's
one. I think it's the fifth one.
because you get that weird like double boss at the end, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a second. But the shark boss is just cool because again, and I believe this is the last thing we're going to talk about with the water.
Yeah.
But the shark boss is just different in the way that the water interacts, and just the opening of that scene is incredible.
Yeah. I I think it does. I think the way, if we're going to talk about the opening of it, does a really fun way to trick the player into giving you just enough time to be like, I think something's wrong with the game. Because what
Oh
happens,
yeah.
how it starts, like you're on this little platform and there's clearly things above you and you're like trying to swim up to it. Like I can't swim up to what it is. Like it just like it doesn't let you swim up. And all of a sudden you see this like one little enemy fish and it kind of swims down below you. And so you're like looking down, you're following the fish, and also this gigantic shark mouth comes up, scared the like legit scared the just completely scared the shit out of me. I was like, okay, you get like one jump scare, that's a cool jump scare.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then you swim up, and it's kind of cool because it feels like it's chomping like right below your chest, like it feels like so close to you the entire time. And then it goes up to the top, and then you get to use those cool wave mechanics that were sort of passive
Hmm.
before, and now it's a much more active part of this boss battle, which I
Yeah.
really enjoy.
Yeah, and again, I think as it's kind of like coming at you and everything, again, there's that perspective of the shark is giant. Like
Yeah.
that mouth, like if you're when it gets close to you, it felt like that mouth is the only thing I can see in front of me. Is just mouth and teeth coming at you,
Yeah.
and not necessarily even in like a horror game sense, but just in that like you said, this is a boss fight. This thing is big, and
Yeah.
just that perspective on it is great. And again, those waves where you're kind of hopping around them using like the like jet boots or whatever, kind of hopping through them and hovering around them. Just all the mechanics worked perfectly in this. It was one of those perfectly balanced boss fights where it takes you a try or two, and once you get the
Yeah.
patterns, it's easy and it's great. And just the whole time, you're kind of just in awe of what's going on in this boss battle.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's really cool about the boss battle, you just scale really cool because it comes up really close to you sometimes, but then swims off like way off into the
Yeah.
horizon. So it's really cool when it's like up close to you, it's just gigantic, but then it goes like really far in the background, it comes closer. And I think the cool way how it ends is that it like dies and its body floats up to the top, and then but then like the thing to actually complete the level is like
Yeah,
on
it's
its
on it.
chest. Yeah, so you have to like actually climb onto it, and you're like, and then you get that another sense of like, wow, just how big and enormous this boss. And that's what I felt like. Those boss battles felt like, yeah, fuck yeah, that was a boss battle. Like I just took down a skyscraper. Like it felt like Shadow of the Colossus size. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine what Shadow of the Colossus would be in VR, to be honest.
I actually had that thought when we were talking about that like 2 minutes ago. Just man, I just want the VR camera on the bird one in Shadow of Colossus, just on one of the top of those pillars. I don't even need to play the game. I just want to sit there in VR and watch that thing fly over me.
Oh yeah, it'd like be a passive audience to the
Yeah,
boss battle essentially. Yeah, that'd be so cool.
yeah. Before we get to the final boss, which is I think a good place to end this on. In this level, I don't even necessarily think the VR stood out so much, but it was just such a
Yeah.
great change of pace at the end of a game, which I think really, really cements a good platformers when you get that random level. It's like, whoa, this doesn't fit. Like there's, and I don't want to necessarily get into spoilers for other games, but like Mario Odyssey has that moment in it
Hmm.
towards the end of the game as well, where it's just, whoa, was not expecting this, and that's the ghost level,
Yes.
which I think is one of the best like Mario ghost levels I've ever played because
I get
it
it. I get
feels
it.
like
Yeah.
that. Like that's what it feels like as you're going through this. Um, and again, I don't necessarily even think it's the VR that stands out with this. This is just probably one of the best made levels in this game, I think.
Yeah, I liked it because it was like it wasn't just a change of pace. Like it introduced a new mechanic, which is like totally different, where you basically shine lights on the platforms to
Hmm.
show the platforms. It also like the tone completely changed, and I like
Yeah,
that sometimes this game gets a little spooky. It's never scary. It's a little spooky.
yeah,
And then even in this one, it's like, ooh, it's like going through like a little like haunted house. I liked how like just the complete change of like there's some cool cave levels that also have like a little bit of creepiness to them, but I just liked how creepy this one was. Plus new mechanic, plus it's difficult, plus it's this, plus it's that. It's just it's a neat level. I liked. I don't know if I liked it as much as I think you. I think you really like that level a lot. I
oh
think
yeah.
I think I liked it just I think for the tonal shift rather than the mechanic at play, but it's still a pretty cool level.
Yeah, I think again, just like having played through so many like Mario levels that deal with light in different ways and how you're seeing ghosts and not seeing ghosts in light and seeing things. Just again,
Mhm.
I think it was just that as I was playing through this game, just being so in love with this game, and then seeing what is clearly inspired from those levels that I really like to now seeing it here,
Yeah.
just was awesome. Just even just the simple things of like shining the light on the different platforms that were invisible until you shine light on them and trying to jump around there. It's just it was great. It worked so well. The change in tone, just everything about it was awesome.
Yeah, and that was the one time I was like, this is like they've wholeheartedly pulled some stuff from Mario 64 and Mario stuff. It's like they just Luigi Mansion this stuff. Like that's what
Oh
they
yeah.
just pulled that straight from. A lot of the stuff in the swimming levels, like that's the eel from Mario, like 100%.
And again, you could I think you could draw such a huge comparison between this and Mario, but I
Yeah.
do think that's doing it a disservice because of all the unique
Yeah.
ideas that are here. But you can definitely see that inspiration of going like, let's be honest, Mario is the platformer.
Yeah.
Let's take that and let's do something new with it because Nintendo's just kind of going, we're going to perfect what we do. Let's do something different with that concept.
Yeah.
But anyway, to end this out, the final boss.
Yes.
And I think it's just this perfectly made culmination of everything up to that point where you're using all these different things that you've used through the game. You've got the controller in front of you. The controller's doing different things. They're mirroring you. And it's
Mhm.
just this really cool and unique way to end this game out.
Yeah, I think the thing I liked about the game overall, I think we didn't really talk about the review or in this, is that the game acknowledges that you're not that like you are actually playing a PlayStation VR and using a PlayStation controller.
Yeah.
And it's neat that the final boss is like just wearing a PSVR headset, using a controller that's clearly a PlayStation controller, and then using the mechanics that you've used throughout the entire game. Um, I feel like a lot of games like kind of shy away from that. Even like exclusive games, like they don't really they like to shy away from the fact that you're like
You're
using
playing a game.
PlayStation products, yeah, or whatever. Yeah, you're playing, whatever game. But this one, just like it's funny just how far it goes in, and that you use every mechanic you've learned throughout the entire game. Plus, it's a pretty effing hard boss. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It took me like a few tries, like way
Oh,
more
for
than
sure.
any other bosses. And I really appreciate it. I think for that.
Yeah, and I think that's where getting away from just the VR is that it used every aspect, and I think this game reminds me so much of Tearaway. Just in everything you have,
Yeah,
we're gonna make you use, and that's what that final boss did. It's like you got to look around at the VR. You've got to use the touch pad on the DualShock. You've got to do all these different things that you've done through the game. We're gonna put them together. We're gonna use every single thing that you've got possible to interact with this game. We're gonna throw it all in here at the end.
yeah, and we're gonna make it pretty effing difficult.
Yep.
And I actually I really like the ending scene. I know it might not be something you remember too fondly, but like it's very cute that when you beat the final boss, like the little robot has to go away with his
Oh
friends, and
yeah.
he like kind of
I
like slumps over.
I legitimately was like, this just got really sad. Like, there's no reason this game ends on such a sad
Yeah.
note.
It's your little robot guy. Like he just like walks away because he doesn't want to leave. And I was like, God damn it! Do I have like an emotional connection with this stupid robot? Like I can feel it. Like I know what you're doing to me, game. It's just like, oh man. But it was such a fun note because I love that. And then obviously it comes back and it's like, okay, it's actually kind of a happy ending sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But I love this game just and then like the power of VR and like getting you invested in characters, invested in setting, invested in fights, invested in everything. It just makes you feel just so much more invested in everything that happens. So even if it's a cute dumb little robot doing dumb little robot things, you just immediately feel more invested than I ever have in any other character before because he was my Astro Bot.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it's weird how just that weird perspective of VR does that. And I think
yeah,
that's what's so cool about this game. And I think that's 90% of what makes this game work is VR. It's a great game. I think if you took it out of VR, it's still a great game. But just the VR and the way that makes you feel and the connection that gives you to this world is incredible.
yeah. And the connection to Astro Bot. Man, I need an Astro Bot too. Like, if there's no more Astro Bot, I'm gonna be very sad. Like, I need
I
an
don't
Astro Bot too.
say I have no idea how well this sold or anything like that, but we'll find out. They were pushing it for a couple of years now, so
I know. This could just be the last PSVR game that's ever going to be made. I can just feel it in my bones. Like after Tetris, like that's it. We're done.
we
I get
we
it. I get
mastered
it.
it. We mastered it. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Or like that wasn't worth the investment, which I think is more realistic.
Probably, yep. Well, anyway, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.